The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors, and are not those of WKYU-TV, its management, or WKU.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Hilltopper Nation, we are happy to be back in the friendly confines of the WKU PBS studios here. And, here hanging out with you.
Home sweet home.
Home sweet home. We got the Jasper group, tables and chairs, rocking it out. Yeah, I miss these too. Of course, we could say a very successful and fun trip to Jonesboro last week. It was really fun to do that and to do a little road show. Unfortunately, Western didn't come out on top, but hey, we're not going to blame ourselves for that, right?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, it wasn't our fault.
It wasn't our fault.
We gave them as much good luck as we possibly could. Yeah, that's right. Well, we are back in the studios, so we got the full crew back. Shane, you were questionable, but you drug in here.
Yep, I'm like
sprained ankle. Is this a severely sprained ankle you're playing with, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's hobbling around.
It's swollen.
Yeah.
Pretty good, but
okay.
I'm here.
Well, don't show anybody on there. It might gross people
Let me
out.
just pull that out here.
But great show back in the studios. So we're gonna get things started. First thing we're gonna do on a positive note, let's give a shout out to Lady Topper Kendall Noble for being Player of the Week, Sunbelt Player of the Week.
Definitely.
She had a pretty dominant week.
And quite an incredible stat line on during Wednesday's game against Troy. 26 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 steals, and 1 block.
It's a pretty good night.
And she averaged 19 points and
6
6 rebounds for the week, and she also had 10 assists, 2 blocks, and 14 steals in both victories. So.
I think she is
not bad for a freshman.
I think she's the 4th Lady Topper to be named Player of the Week. So this year, so
I think I saw the 75th all time.
Yeah, 75th all time.
Yeah,
so I mean,
that's pretty good.
Kudos, shows you how good of a program that is. So kudos to them. Of course, Lady Toppers had a very good week. Definitely shot the ball very well. Had 2 nice blowout, comfy victories. So definitely, I think the men could have used Kendall in the first half of Saturday's game against South Alabama. We could probably say that, right?
She might have done a little better than 14% from the field, I think.
4 field goals. Yeah, obviously a successful week for the Lady Toppers, but quite a tumultuous one for the men's team. Of course, kind of
word use, by the way, Sean.
Kind of back, yeah, I like that. I kind of practiced that before we came on air, man.
It.
So I really, I can't take.
Stand in the mirror and practice.
Yeah, I did. It was a 3-hour thing, Kentucky accent. It's kind of hard to get that out, man. But yeah, a little bit of more of a tumultuous week for the WKU men. Go back to last Monday for right after our live show. Lost to Arkansas State. Then you got I would say a pretty easy win against Troy, even though it was only like a 5-point win. But, Troy threw up some trash there at the end, and it kind of went in. So, and then, of course, you got the South Alabama loss. So you go 1-2. A lot of people are going to say, oh, man, it was kind of a disappointing week. True in a lot of senses, and we'll talk about that. But, you look at the grand scheme of things, we're still second place in the conference right now. So exact same place we were Monday night. So
definitely, yeah. I've tried to be a pretty good big picture guy with this team the whole season, and yeah, you're disappointed to lose to the last place team in the conference, but
yeah.
I mean, like we talked about earlier, you look at all the 5 Sunbelt games Saturday, the lower ranked team won all 5 of those. So we're really not hurt that much in the standings, but
we even talked about it on the show. I mean, even when they played South Alabama earlier in the year, I mean, South Alabama is always a team. You kind of throw out the record books with them. Yeah. They always play as tough. Doesn't matter what any of our records are. They always play as tough. So
South Alabama is a team that has talent. I mean, they, look at early in the season in their non-conference schedule. They played Gonzaga close. Mm-hmm. They played fairly good against Texas. I mean, they played some good teams that they played close. For whatever reason, I don't know if they've had discord with the new coaching staff going on there or what, but they just haven't showed up in conference play yet. But, they do have talent on that team with Rubid and those guys.
Yeah, Rubid had a double-double. I think he had
and Ammons.
12 points, 13 rebounds. Michael Ammons he went off. He had like 20 and 12. And, just overall good effort by them. I mean, you could tell in that game Saturday, defensively there at the beginning of the game. Of course, I know we only hit 4 field goals. It was absolutely horrendous half for Western Kentucky in the first half. You only shoot 14% from the field and only have 4 field goals made. You go almost 11-minute stretch without making a field goal. And but they were really, South Alabama was really intense on defense there in the first half. You could tell they were playing with some intensity and some fire, and kind of unlike Western Kentucky, which South Alabama didn't shoot the ball very well either. It was only 26-14 at half. So I mean, you still had an opportunity to make a comeback, which Western eventually did in the second half. But the thing that really killed Western, I thought, was when they came out the first stretch of the second half, and South Alabama just shot lights out. They went about 9 for 12. Hit 9 of the first 12 shots. Hit about 4 or 5 of those were threes. So they kind of dug a really huge hole for themselves that it was hard to dig out of, and they ended up losing by 7 points. So
Well, they just need to quit digging these holes to begin with, though.
this is true.
I mean,
Hey, what's the key to the game? Score more points than the other team.
Exactly.
I mean, keep it simple, man.
I mean, that's why Georgia State wins all their games. Their defensive
right.
rebounding is awful, but they just outscore everybody. But it's one of those things where they just need to start coming out. This isn't a team that can just take anybody lightly, especially with there are teams in the Sun Belt that are good enough to beat you on any given night, as evidenced by the bottom teams winning every game Saturday. So it's just everybody's got to come out with a focus from the start of the game. And I'm not saying they lack focus or anything like that, but I think sometimes they just think, oh well, we should be able to beat this team.
Yeah.
And
I'll take. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Woody.
I think the way the last 2 years have gone, where we've made those runs at the end of the season. I think sometimes we get in our heads that we can fall back on that a little bit and not have to. Not that we don't come out like we want to win these games, but I saw some fan relating us to an NBA team that maybe go.
Was that a
well,
fan?
no, let me get there.
Was that a fan at Arkansas State?
No, not that guy. But you look at an NBA team like say Miami Heat. If they're playing at a mid-February game in Utah that has no impact on the standings, they're not going to care that much about that game.
Yeah.
But they're still going to be top 2 team in the playoff when it comes down to it. I think that's kind of the mentality this team has sometimes. Whether or not that's a good mentality to have, that's up for debate. But I think that's kind of the way these guys are sometimes.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you kind of look at it, and you kind of mentioned it, Shane. Anybody in the Sun Belt can beat anybody on any given night. I mean, you go back to Saturday's game. We lost to South Alabama, but then Troy beats Georgia State. Yep. Georgia State was undefeated in the conference before then. And
we didn't really have issues with Troy in either game we played them this year.
Yeah.
And so you can't go by who's won what or anything like that, because I mean, there are talented teams in the conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And like I said, we're still, sitting at second place in the conference. So, I mean, overall 17-9 and 9-4 in the conference. Still,
and we're still ahead of where we've been the last couple of years. And a lot of fans are just, they expected immediate results this year. And I mean, you got to really think this is really only Coach Harper's second year. So I mean, you got to give time to transition everything over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've kind of, seen that as their, their records. First time they've been at 17 wins this,
since 2009.
This early in the calendar year, since 2009. So we see that the record's getting better, and the record's not everything. It's like you said, Woody. You want to play well. You want to be the best team in March. But obviously, I know, people are going to be disappointed, especially with the South Alabama loss, and especially with the Arkansas State loss, too. We were kind of talking about it while we was watching the game after the show last Monday about the Arkansas State game. You even kind of mentioned it, Woody, that, they kind of seem like they have that mentality where they can maybe come back, and they kind of dig themselves too much of a hole and they can't come out of it. So, and that kind of happened with Arkansas State. I mean, go back to that game, let's talk about some of the problems here. You talk about, Shane, you kind of mentioned they're probably still focused, but sometimes it just seems like execution is just not there. You go back to the Arkansas State game, you got probably the worst game, and, Fant and Price combined for 2 points. 2 points in the entire game. I mean, obviously, probably the worst performance by those two, and those are your two main guys. And, to flip that, too, you've got Arkansas State, their leading scorer, Kurt Van Slyke. He's in foul trouble. He only scores 2 points the entire game as well, so you don't take advantage of that opportunity. So, I mean, what do you guys kind of see from, obviously, Fant and Price played better the last 2 games, but, what do you guys kind of think happened in that game that, Fant and Price 2 points? I mean, that really can't happen. They have nights like that, Western Kentucky's going to lose.
Honestly, I don't know. And George, I mean,
And it wasn't really foul trouble. Price had a little bit of foul trouble, but, Fant only had 2 fouls the whole game. So.
I mean, they were definitely keying in to stop Fant inside, but, like we mentioned, we were able to catch part of shoot around earlier that day, and, Fant looked fine.
Yeah.
Everybody was working hard. Coaches were going over sets and stuff with them, and, I thought they were prepared for the game. So it was, it kind of took me by surprise when, they came out like they did and just kind of laid that egg.
Yeah, it was almost like I wouldn't say the exact script Saturday night, but they only hit 6 field goals in the first half against Arkansas State. But they were only down by 5 points too. So I mean, they had opportunities there, but we kind of mentioned this in there watching the game. While Kurt Van Slyke was having foul trouble and didn't score, Melvin Johnson seemed to take over.
Yep.
He scored a lot of their points there in the first half
He
and
had
kept
half
them
of their
ahead.
points
So
until there was about 5 minutes left in the game.
yeah. So I mean that was and the thing with them, the biggest thing with them, the second half, it was almost virtually. Against Arkansas State, it was almost virtually even as far as field goals made. I think they both hit 11 field goals. They both hit 3 threes. The difference was free throws. Arkansas State, they got to the free throw. They hit 22 free throws in the second half, and they had 29 the whole game, 29 to 34. You kind of compare that to 17 to 24 for Western. So that was kind of the difference. They were attacking the basket, getting fouls, getting to the line.
I don't know what it is, but Western needs to up their free throw defense. Because teams are just shooting unbelievable.
How do you up your free throw defense, Shane?
I don't know. We got to figure something out.
Do we need to get better cutouts for the home team here?
Yeah,
so they can,
something like that.
Betty Davis isn't getting it done.
Betty White.
Betty White.
Betty Davis.
Betty Davis eyes. Sorry, brain fart.
That's all right. This is skittle fart.
There you go. But for real, the free throws have been like the weirdest stat for this team this year.
It
both
has.
for the opposing team and for us. We shot like 88% Thursday night, and then we shoot 42% or whatever it was Saturday night.
Yeah.
I don't know how a team can do that. That blows my mind.
It's very Jekyll and Hyde with
Definitely.
free throws, but yeah.
Jekyll and Hyde with all shooting, and not just free throws.
And turnovers.
Oh.
No, turnovers is always high,
Turnovers.
right?
Turnovers is always high.
But yeah, we talk about that. Turnovers is kind of another issue for this team that they always seem to deal with every game. And really, you look at we were kind of talking about it before the show. You look at the turnovers and everything like that, where we rank nationally. It's amazing that we have this record right now and that we're second place in the Sun Belt Conference because we're in the 300s ranking in turnovers and everything like that. I mean, it's pretty amazing. But you kind of mentioned it, Shane. I mean, defense is really keeping us in ball games and giving us chances to win, and that's really key right now. The main thing I think Western needs to focus on, and obviously everybody will agree to this. We even talked about it earlier in the year, and I wonder why it's still an issue, but the scoring droughts, we talked about it earlier. Saturday they had 11 minutes where they went between field goals, only scored 4 field goals in the first half. Monday against Arkansas State, 6 field goals in the first half. What seems to be the problem offensively? Why are we still having these scoring droughts, even with, I know, Alex is out, and I know Caspar is out, but we got Harrison Docks, Trincy Jackson. When they became eligible, we thought this would be better. So what's still the problem, you guys think?
I think guys are just settling too much for jump shots and outside looks. Usually when we hit those scoring droughts is because we usually start jacking up three-pointers.
Yeah.
And we quit doing what's working, and that's driving to the basket, kicking out to the open man, or feeding the post for kickouts or for George to try to go up. We get away from what's working because teams adjust to what we're doing, and then we start trying to do something else, and it doesn't work for us.
Yeah, it seems like people kind of pay attention, or they kind of scout us and they kind of see that what you just said. If you kind of take us out of our element of going down low, we'll start settling for 3-pointers. That seems to be the case, and that's another stat that's kind of been brought up. We're shooting a lot of 3-pointers. We're not making a whole lot of them, and we seem like we're settling for way too many of them as well.
When
We're
teams
not
are
attacking
playing
the
a lot of
basket.
zone against us to keep us out of the paint,
Mhm.
and to make us shoot those 3-pointers. But we got to work on busting those 2-3 zones and 1-3-1s and
There's ways
and all
to
that
do
stuff.
it. You
I
just
mean, there's
gotta-
always
you
ways
just
to
gotta do it. I mean,
but and
somebody's
it's
gotta-
not that I don't think Harper is teaching these guys how to do it. I
Yeah.
do, but I think when you get in a game, it's different. I mean, you can remember what you practice and stuff like that, but sometimes the heat of the moment, you start just trying to find ways to score on your own, and I think that's kind of what ends up happening.
We've got a couple guys on this team too. Not that this is I like this trait about them sometimes, but if they get in one-on-one matchups with guys, they want to one-up the guy they're guarding. Chris Harrison Docks, for one, is very good about trying to do that. And,
No, not really. Stop lying, man.
what was I guess the Arlington game where he talked his the guy that was guarding him into getting a technical, and then
Lonnie.
he went Lonnie McClanahan.
McClanahan,
There
yeah.
you go. And then after the guy got the technical, Chris went down and kept trying to pull up threes in his face, and we're kind of
It's
Trincy
almost a little bit of street ball-esque.
we borderline sometimes, and I like that mentality, but we need to do that within
Only a little bit. right,
within
per
the
game.
system that we have. And,
Yeah.
I don't even mind the threes to an extent, but when we work inside out, if we get the ball into George or Aaron or Akaro and he kicks it back out, we get a look that way. We usually knock those down, but it's when we dribble around, try to pull up in somebody's face, that hardly ever works for this team.
Yeah, that's another thing. Just going to the games and cover them, I think a lot of fans get frustrated about dribbling too much. Chris Harrison Docks will probably be public enemy number one in that aspect. Seems like he does dribble a whole lot, in the offensive set. I realize he's good at it, but you kind of see his stats, and you look at his stat line every game. And I know it's not all about stats, but assist to turnover ratios, not exactly a strong suit right now. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Well, I think part of the reason he dribbles so much is because
He's a good dribbler.
Well, I mean, yeah, but when he brings it up, a lot of times guys are just sitting, waiting for him to make a move and waiting for him to make that play, and they're not running off the ball as much, trying to get open. You'll have two guys at each wing and then two guys in the post while he's up top dribbling around.
Yeah.
There just needs to be sometimes I think there needs to be more off the ball movement going on. And especially when a team's playing zone, we need to start having a guy come up to the free throw line and hitting that that guy middle zone buster and trying to open the court up.
Who do you think the best zone buster for this team is right now?
The high-low game with Akaro running the elbows has worked great.
Yeah, because Akaro is good at feeding the post and good at getting in. George, if Akaro comes up to the free throw line, he's good about throwing it over the top of the defender and getting George down low. But the problem with that is, no offense to O, but he doesn't have a whole lot of a mid-range game.
That's true. You want somebody that's a little bit
somebody
with the jumper.
that can hit that shot, so they'll draw the defender up to them. So that's where I think Aaron would come into play there. Even George, if he's worked on his jump shot enough.
Yeah.
Those two coming up to the free throw line, and if their defender doesn't come up on them, they got that little free throw jumper.
That's one thing going back to the Little Rock game. You talk about Kamene. Of course, Kamene's been playing great lately. I mean, he's almost every game seems like the past few games he's been good for like 8-9 points, 6-7 rebounds. I mean, he's just a real good hustle guy. But he really did against Little Rock. He really did a good job up at the top of the key, feeding it into George Fant and everything. So, but like you said, if you want somebody to attack a 2-3 zone, you want somebody a little bit more versatile that can have a mid-range shot. So, I mean, we have options in that area.
We've seen Peyton Hulsey play that spot a little bit too when he's in there, and he's getting there on his shot. He's not afraid to shoot it as much as he was earlier in the season.
Yeah, still a little hesitant. Yeah. I think he needs to be a little bit more confident in his shot. I think it'll come with time. You got to realize he's just a freshman.
I think Dauda, with him getting little minutes here and there, he's got a little jumper on him too. Yeah. That could be his spot. And even Ben Lawson, if he sees minutes, he can stroke it.
I'm waiting for Dauda to get some more minutes because Harper's kind of teasing us a little bit with him. He throws him in there for like a minute or two, and then we don't see him again. I kind of want to see him a little bit more.
It feels a lot like last season to me when we saw Alex was getting minutes here and there, but Alex wasn't a huge part of the team until Team had his unfortunate circumstances, and then Alex came on and played great down the stretch. So I'm hoping maybe it's this week. I don't know. We may see Dauda take that jump, and even if it's 10, 15 minutes a game, he's definitely a defensive presence. He can, like you said, he's got a pretty nice little jumper. So we'll see what happens with that. But,
the big thing is, he always comes in, he's got that knee brace on, always got the issues. But we kind of talked about it, before last week's show. I mean, I think it's one of those that's getting better. And you even said it. Harper said, he's right there.
I'm gonna listen to the coach's show again tonight and see if he brings that up.
All right.
And I think we need a defensive presence. Like a shot blocker down low.
Yeah.
Not that Fant doesn't block shots from time to time, or DOA doesn't either, but I just think Dauda is more aggressive with trying to go after those block shots, and Ben Lawson too, if he can learn to do those without fouling. Those are two guys that I would like to see maybe get some more minutes and try to contest shots down low.
Yeah, definitely. That would definitely help us out. Like I said, defense, not necessarily the biggest concern. It lacked a little bit Saturday night against South Alabama, especially in there early in the second half. But you want to see some more shot blockers. You want to see us attack 2-3 zone. There's a lot of things that just be a little bit more aggressive on offense. And we talked about earlier in the year. The thing that really, which TJ Price does, he's doing a lot better job now of driving the lane and creating his own shot. Instead of settling for three-pointers. Still kind of does it from time to time, but not as much as he used to. So that's always a good thing to see. But you want to see people do that a little bit more. And I know, Trincy does a pretty good job of that. A little erratic at times. I know it kind of makes some people nervous whenever he's got the ball in the open court because you never know what he's going to do. But
he's usually going to push it.
He's usually going to push it, but you never know what's going to be the result of that push. But usually it's 50-50 good or bad. So. But
But that's what I want to see Trincy do more of, is even in the half court set, is forcing the issue, driving the paint and dishing it out more so than shooting it every time he drives in. Because that's one thing that he's really good at. He's probably our best drive guy on the team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's got the speed to get around his defender and
By
get
far,
in
yeah.
the paint.
I mean, with the ball in his hand, I think he's definitely the fastest guy on the team. And
Right.
I think he would really be a good candidate to be to kind of attack that 2-3 zone, get somebody in the middle. I think he's got a good enough jumper. Maybe like size a little bit, but he can pass the ball off. If people collapse on him. It's just another option to throw out there for Coach Harper if he's listening. Not that I don't know anything about basketball, but.
Yeah, I mean, all the things we talk about, to get this team better, I think it's things that we've seen us do from time to time. But it's just a matter of, finding that consistency. And I think that's, as a fan, that's probably most people's biggest gripe right now is this team finding consistency. I mean, if we played 40 minutes like we did, what game was it? Like Troy in the first half, and even into like the last 5 minutes. If we could do that all the time, I mean, there's not many Sunbelt teams that would.
Hunter Williams decided to start throwing up jump for man. I mean, he was throwing up threes and they were going in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was amazing. He hit 5 threes in the second half. So, but I think he had like 4 of those in the last 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, it made the game a little bit closer than eyes. Getting
For sure.
to see. But I mean, what's your message to what are your guys' message to all these Hilltopper fans that are ready to jump off a bridge right now?
Do you remember where we were 2 years ago?
Exactly. I think we kind of summed it up earlier. I mean, the record's better. We're in second place. I think really, I think a lot of people were wanting us to, chase down Georgia State.
Yeah.
Which,
really,
I mean, that's still an option.
it's still an option,
I mean, Georgia
yeah.
State has a very rough stretch coming up for them over
And
the
they've
next
got some
couple
makeup
weeks.
games, too, because of that snowstorm. Like I said, I think they play tonight, actually,
Yeah,
right?
they're
they
playing.
play,
Them and Texas State
Texas
actually just
State.
tipped
Yeah,
off. A few
so
minutes ago,
they're playing a makeup game tonight. So, and obviously if Troy proved anything Saturday, that Georgia State's very beatable because they
And
went down there and beat
Texas
them.
State's the best defensive team in the conference.
Yeah.
Next to us. So
Yeah, so, I think the key is to at least stay in second place, shoot for that double bye in the conference tournament. And, like I said, we're in a better place. 9-4 in the conference, 17-9 overall.
I mean, we're still going to win 20 games for the season. I mean, we've got 5 games left. Surely we can get 3 wins out of those, I would think. So,
What do you think, the games that are left? I know we've got Monroe Saturday, probably a very winnable game, in our opinion, I guess. Obviously, we've talked about it before we came on there, but the Texas trip seems to be a pretty tough one for you guys. I mean, what do you kind of see in that situation?
neither one of those teams really jump out as teams that are scary, but road trips are always tough.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, the goal is always to split the road trips. If you win your home games and do that, you're in good shape. And, I mean, if we can go on that trip and, get a split, I think we'll still be fine as far as the 2 seed goes.
Yeah.
the reason those 2 games jumped out at me was because, for one, when they came to Diddle, I was very impressed with Arlington's athleticism, and they got a couple guys on their team that can score.
Yeah.
And those are types of teams that can give us trouble. Those long, fast, athletic teams.
Plus, you just like those Cleveland Cavaliers.
Those are ugly
80s, early
jerseys.
90s Esters.
McClanahan.
Yeah, Lonnie McClanahan. Public
And
enemy
then-
number 1.
Texas State's defense, because as bad as we've been offensively in a lot of games, going up against a really good defensive team, sometimes that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. It's going up against the defensive team might actually, Western might be a little bit more focused. Plus, you're going to be on the road as well. So, to kind of going up against a good defensive team like Texas State, you might be a little bit more motivated to, prove
I
yourself.
mean, up
So,
until Arkansas State, our road games have been pretty solid. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can get back to that.
But
Yeah.
lucky for Western and everybody else, as good as Texas State has been defensively, they've been just as awful
Exactly.
offensively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they ever put together a good offensive game mixed with their defense, I mean, they could really beat anybody in the conference too.
yeah. Going back to Saturday's game, of course, 14 points in the first half. Not the worst performance. I think I saw where Western actually scored only 13 against Evansville in 2008, which ironically I was there at that game.
I think I was at that game too.
At Evansville.
I remember that
Robert
game.
Stadium, yeah.
Roberts Arena is a lot of Western.
Robert-
like to call it. There's
Yeah,
a lot
that
of fouls called.
Yeah, it was pretty.
That was that stretch where we lost to Murray by 30, beat Louisville, and then
Yeah.
lost to Evansville by like 38.
It was crazy.
That was a fun,
Yeah, that was a
weird
bad game, but yeah, not the worst first half performance in recent memory. So, guys, keep that in mind
Silver
out there.
linings. I like
There's
it.
still hope out there. But yeah, I mean, we talked about it before we come on the show, but Louisiana Lafayette's showing some life right now. They're on a 5-game winning streak, and really they kind of pushed Arkansas State out of the way, and now they're right behind us for trying to shoot for that second place spot. So
Yeah, and I think Little Rock is done too with all the injuries they've
Yeah.
suffered this
Yeah.
last week. I don't think they're out of the race. I think it's going to be between Lafayette and Arkansas State on if they catch us.
Yeah. So that'd be another game to watch. I know we play them later in the season, there toward the end. So I mean, that could be a pretty crucial game if Lafayette keeps that up. Of course, they got some really good players on their team too. So they're really starting to put that together. I know we talked about them, about middle of the season why they're struggling so much, but seems like it's all coming together for them at the right time. So that could be a very good key matchup whenever they come to town. So definitely one to watch out for. So hopefully Western Kentucky can, stay in that second place position. Hopefully we can catch Georgia State, but like I said, it's not the primary goal. The primary goal is to be playing well in March and, get back to the tournament.
That's right.
And I think right now we're on a very good chance to do that. So any last final thoughts on WKU basketball, the state of WKU basketball?
I think everybody just needs to calm down a little bit. Remember that
Is this an intervention, Shane?
Yeah, it
Let's
is.
get a close up on
Let's
Shane.
Let's back up off the ledge and just calm down a little bit.
All right. Wise words from Shane there.
That's
And we're here to support you guys out there. If you want to call us, just
Yeah,
feel
you
free to
can
give us a
you
call
can
or
you can tweet in
holler at us
and
at
just
Twitter
vent if you want.
at TopperTalk TV, and we'll talk you down. Okay.
I'm surprised we hadn't got many tweets saying that we're out of our minds and that the sky is falling yet.
Not yet. So you guys ready to? You guys ready to?
We hadn't hit that one yet. We're not out of our
no,
minds yet.
Not yet. You guys ready to usher in the Jeff Brom era
Yes,
to Western Kentucky football?
Yes.
I am for sure.
Well,
Brahms away.
Spring football. Yeah, Brahms away. I really want that to be the theme of next year's team. I don't think it's going to be, but it would be.
Take us to the promised land.
All the Brahmisms out there. But yeah, definitely spring practice will start up on March 25th. So, football is just around the corner, so it's kind of
I
cool.
like that all practices are open to the public this year.
All practices are open to the
That's
public. They're going to go Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. All practices are at 1 o'clock unless otherwise noted. And then, of course, the spring game will be April 19th on a Saturday, and that will also be at 1 o'clock. So get to see, Jeff Brom and his coaching staff, which a lot of them stayed for under his wing. So we got some new faces as well, so we get to see them in action. And, yeah, that's kind of the cool thing. You got a new head coach, and it's always cool to have open practices so people can come out there and watch them in action and watch the players as well and kind of root them on and give them support. So got a lot of opportunities to catch them, like I said, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays at 1 o'clock starting March 25th. So definitely be cool.
Quick shout out to the WKU baseball team who started their season over the weekend.
Very cold.
What?
It was very cold.
Yep.
Wasn't very
the
cold.
game Friday got canceled and pushed back, so we ended up playing a doubleheader on Sunday. But they won series over Southern Illinois 2-1. They lost the first game 3-2 after scoring the first 2 runs in their first 4 at bats of the season.
Come on, man.
They gave up 3 runs and lost, and they
Close
fell
it out.
behind 4-0 in the second game of the series, but scored 6 unanswered to go on and win that game, and then
Rally tops.
won the rubber match 6-1 to close out the series, and they go on the road for the first time this season tomorrow to take on Belmont down in Nashville.
Okay, cool. It's a softball
On the
updates.
same note, yeah, softball went.
See, softball, I like softball because they went to Florida and then they went to
They're doing it
Cali.
right,
They're
for
doing it
sure.
right. They're doing it right. I always said women are smarter, right?
That's right. They're at a 5-4-1 record right now. I don't know how you pull off a tie in softball. I guess they ran out of the time limit or something like that.
I
But
don't know.
yeah, they played some good teams. They went up against UCLA, who's perennial powerhouse. Played some good teams on the road. 5-4-1 record to start out the year. It's not bad. They'll have a pretty good chance of making a good run in the Sun Belt again this year.
Cool. All right. Well, that about does it for this show. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll be back next week, same time, same channel. You guys take it easy.
Go Tops.
Go Tops.
Go Tops.